Hey everyone, so today on the channel we're going to be making an original of mine. It's not really an original because it's inspired by a classic, but is it really a classic if there's two versions of it and they are nothing alike? Anyway, you guys asked for it, so today we're going to do it. Today we're going to be making the Starboard Light cocktail. I'm Andy, this is Easy Tiki Drink, so let's do this. So a little while ago, in a not so distant past, I did a video on the Port Light cocktail, and I'll leave the link up here and in the description below for those of you that didn't get a chance to watch it. The Port Light cocktail is an awesome classic tiki cocktail, bourbon-based with passion fruit and grenadine and lemon juice. Those are simply the basic ingredients. Now, the original cocktail I don't typically love, so I went and I reproportioned it a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting for my palate. Now, while doing research on the Port Light cocktail, I also discovered that there is such a thing as a Starboard Light cocktail. I asked if you guys wanted to see that because the recipes that I had seen weren't very good, so I wanted to see if you guys wanted my interpretation of it. You guys reached out, you said we would love to see that. So I did some digging, and I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't find a lot. Essentially, there are two recipes for the Starboard Light cocktail. There is one that you find, and it's the most common one. It is bright green. Basically, it's gin, creme de menthe, and lemon juice, shaken, strained, served up in a coupe. Honestly, doesn't sound very good. Now, I don't have creme de menthe on my bar, and I'm not gonna go out and buy a bottle, especially the bright green kind, just to make one cocktail that I will never make again. Although, if you guys do have some other recipes that utilize creme de menthe, specifically the green one, definitely drop them in the comments below, because if I get enough of them, I'll go out and buy a bottle and make some green cocktails. Well, other green cocktails. The other recipe that I stumbled across definitely fits more into the tiki realm, and this was actually by Trader Vic, which makes sense. Some people equate the Port Light to Trader Vic as well, so it makes sense that he made a Port Light and a Starboard Light. Like as I go over in the Port Light video, basically old school ships used to have one light on their port side and one light on their starboard side. Port was red, starboard was green, and that way at night you could see which way a ship was passing by you or what direction it was heading. So it would make sense that if Vic took the Port Light cocktail that some people don't think he created, again, watch that video, wanted to do a kind of sister to that, the Starboard Light makes sense. However, Vic's Starboard Light cocktail ingredients don't make any sense. We've got scotch, passion fruit, lemon, and egg white? That doesn't sound green to me at all, and honestly, it's not. And honestly, scotch is a very, very weird tiki ingredient that just doesn't make sense to me in this cocktail. Now, I did try it, and I played around with it a little bit, and it just doesn't work for me. So instead, I wanted to set out to create my own Starboard Light cocktail that played a sister to my Port Light cocktail, but was green. So let's see what we're gonna need to make my Starboard Light cocktail. You're gonna need gin, Passionfruit Liqueur, Pandan Syrup, lemon juice, New Orleans bitters, and Saline Solution. So as you can see, pretty simple, and if you've watched my Port Light video cocktail, you can see that there are ingredients that carry over. I'll talk about that a little bit more. Let's build this thing, I'll sip on it, and then we'll talk about a little bit more about my inspiration and the decisions that I made. So grab your shaking tins, because that's what we're gonna need. In your shaking tin, you're gonna add 5 drops of Saline Solution, 3 dashes of New Orleans bitters, 1 ounce of lemon juice, half an ounce of Pandan Syrup, half an ounce of Passionfruit Liqueur, 2 ounces of gin. Add some pebble ice to your shaking tin, and give it a nice hard shake for about 5 to 8 seconds. Grab your footed pilsner glass and open pour in. Top with more pebble ice, and garnish with a mint sprig and a lemon wheel, and don't forget your Surfside sip straw. And so there you have it, my version of the Starboard Light cocktail. Let's give it a try. That is such a unique cocktail. So, right up front, you're gonna get that mint on the nose, which is gonna play super, super well with that first hit of gin that you're gonna get. All of that's gonna be rounded out by this pandan vanilla flavor, which is rounded out by the tartness from the Passionfruit Liqueur, and all of that is being carried on the back of our lemon juice. The Creole bitters and the Saline Solution are doing a wonderful job of just uplifting this cocktail and allowing me to pull out every single individual flavor. It's definitely a unique cocktail. It's, you know, a little bit more outside of the kind of like sweet and tropical that you think of with Tiki. It is definitely a little bit more floral, but I think that that's okay because again, I wanted this to be a sister cocktail to the Port Light. Speaking of which, let's talk about some of my decisions. First of all, what am I gonna use as a base spirit? Am I gonna go with gin or am I gonna go with scotch? I don't feel like scotch does a lot. Not only that, but the Port Light already has whiskey, it has bourbon in it, so I didn't want to play with another whiskey, so I went with gin. For my gin, I'm using Old Harbor, but feel free to use any gin that you prefer. From there, I needed something to make this thing green. So, I mean, I had just shot a video about a green zombie. Why not use more Pandan? Plus, I now give you guys another recipe to use your Pandan syrup with as well. From there, I wanted something that was also going to play off of the Pandan and harken back to the Port Light. So it made sense to go with the Passionfruit Liqueur. It showed up in my green zombie and it showed up in the Port Light, so I knew that it would work. And for my Passionfruit Liqueur, I'm using Giffard's. Other awesome opportunities here would be Chinola or Drolard. From there, I wanted to pick bitters to use because I use bitters in all of my cocktails, and I actually find that New Orleans bitters pairs better with gin than aromatic bitters. So for my New Orleans bitters, I'm using the Bitter Truth Company's Creole bitters. New Orleans bitters are much more anise forward. It's almost like adding absinthe to the cocktail. And honestly, if you wanted to skip the Creole bitters and go for a dash or two of absinthe, that would work really well here as well. And then of course, we go with our Saline Solution to help uplift and enhance all these flavors. So that's basically it. I wanted to take the template that I had already created with the Port Light, and I wanted to transition it into something that paired side by side with it. It's you know, the other side of the coin, shall we? I took both of the recipes that I found for a Starboard Light cocktail and tried to pull ingredients from those that fit within the template of the Port Light that I had already created. Some things made more sense than others. Scotch didn't really make sense. I wanted something that was going to be the opposite side of the coin from bourbon, not something that was going to be similar. Lemon juice made sense because obviously with gin, that's going to pair really, really well. I needed something to make it green. I didn't want to go with creme de menthe because that would have overpowered the cocktail. I knew I had something green in my repertoire in the Pandan Syrup, so that made sense. That also I knew paired well with passion fruit, which we find in the Trader Vic's version. So, but instead of going with passion fruit syrup, I pulled from my Port Light template and went with passion fruit liqueur. I also happen to know that these two flavors pair really, really well together because I made the green zombie the other day and it contained both of those ingredients as well. So, that was a mouthful, but that's where this cocktail came from. Is it a Starboard Light? I don't know. It isn't really a riff on either of the two recipes that I found. Honestly, it's a completely own cocktail. So should I call it a Starboard Light? Under normal circumstances, I probably wouldn't. However, I don't feel like either of the other two cocktails are well known enough for me to actually care about that. And instead, I think this fits way better in comparison, right? If I had a Port Light right here, I think this fits way better as a pair of cocktails than what's currently out there. And so because of that, I am gonna call it a Starboard Light. I know it's very different, and for those of you that are going, Andy, it's not the same cocktail, you're bastardizing the original recipes, you're right, I am, but for this one, I'm gonna give it a pass because the other two just don't fit, and this fits way better. By the way, this is a concept known as top-down design, where I come up with a name and then I create a cocktail based on the name, as opposed to a bottom-up design where I create a flavor profile first and then build a drink off of that. Those are two different ways that I go about building cocktails, or at least my originals. If you guys like me to do a deeper dive into like how I design my original cocktails, definitely let me know, drop a comment below, I'd be more than happy to shoot a video on it. Anyway, that's it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please don't yell at me, even though some of you probably will, about calling this a Starboard Light. I think it fits way better. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video and you learned a little bit, or you inspired, or you got any value of it whatsoever, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, click that little notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, follow me over on Instagram and TikTok at EasyTikiDrinks, and that's about it, guys. So until next time, I'm signing off, and I want you to take it easy.